Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Alien vs. Predator Galaxy podcast, the original Alien and Predator podcast. I'm regular host Aaron Percival, aka Corporal Hicks, and joining me are usual partners in crime,
Adam Zeller, aka RidgeTop,
and AJ Bischoff, aka VoodooMagic.
And this is probably going to be a short one, about 10 minutes, I reckon.
Let's hope.
Probably not too much to go in here, because for this episode, for the last, what's it been, AJ? About a year we've been hearing this claim since we've been talking about some of the other books, do you reckon?
Yeah, roughly, I think.
Yeah,
I think there's been a debate between you and Adam.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say debate, but every time the book comes up, I call it one of the worst books in existence, and Adam goes, "It weren't that bad." So
okay. I add the disclaimer that I don't remember it very well. The last time I read this thing was in 2007, and so it was an interesting revisitation.
At some point this year, I decided, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna put Adam's challenge to the test and see if it truly was that bad or not. And to be fair, I wanted to do a article that was spurred on by the Alpha Predator. So at some point, I was going to have to read it again for myself. So we tried to kill two birds with one stone. It nearly killed me. It did.
I personally never read this book. I stayed away as far as I could because it was notoriously bad from everything I heard about it. So, but I was pulled into this adventure between Adam and Aaron. And
I think we were playing Hunting Grounds, and you kept talking about how much you like the backstory for Alpha Predator. And I was like, oh, you like the Hish, huh? Maybe you should check out this book. And see if like you'll find it.
Neca did a great job, I think, with that Alpha Predator backstory. Now, they did retcon some of the details that took place. All of. But it's a wonderful backstory, and I still love it, even after reading this book.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're clicking onto this without having seen the titles or anything, we are talking this abomination.
Predator Forever Midnight.
And you know what, guys? Look, actually.
Oh, 2 copies.
I've got 2 copies because one
is signed.
It's signed by the author.
Mr. John Shirley.
Better hope he's not listening to this podcast.
Well,
hey, you're the defender. You're supposed to be, at least. And I just want to comment how nice Aaron's mustache looks like today.
This was a discussion before we started because I'm a twat and I shaved half of my chin off by accident and I had to get rid of the rest of it so it didn't look so stupid. But now it's just a porno tash, basically.
A porno stash. Now he looks very debonair for all our podcast listeners. So. More than usual.
It'll grow back within the week. I've got next week off as of recording, so it'll grow back and I won't look so weird. This is the first time in years that there's been nothing on this chin.
Aliens Fire Team Week. And that's why you have next week off, right? Is Aliens Fire Team Elite.
That's right, yep.
Not too often we get an Alien or Predator game. And so, although recently it kind of has been. So that's nice.
A year.
Yeah.
I won't go as far as to say regular. But yeah, so next week off to play Alien Fire Team and regrow the Van Dyke. Oh, very interesting for everybody. So yeah, that's our podcast on Predator Forever Midnight. Thank you everybody for yes. So after this one, I just went, you know what? Next time we've got a free slot, we're talking about something I fucking love. I know we're going to enjoy because we've put ourselves through some real punishment lately. I mean, to be fair, this one was intentional. I went into this one knowing it was going to be shit, but Infiltrator was punishment. We punished ourselves with Hunter's Planet as well recently.
Yeah, you know, you've been like, Aaron, saying, AJ, you got to get into the books, man. You got to get into the books. And except for Into Charybdis, oh my God.
I haven't given you any good ones, have I?
No, you haven't.
We got to do South China Sea next.
Yes.
Have you got a spare couple $100?
Oh, I have a copy.
Me
Oh,
too.
you have a copy. Very nice.
Of that and Turnabout. Yeah.
Have you read them?
No.
Okay.
You
Okay.
guys have.
Neither of you.
I've been waiting for this shitty Book of the Month Club to change to Great Book of the Month Club.
So Adam, did you say you'd not read either of them as well?
Nope. I haven't read. Well, I've read Forever Midnight before. I haven't read South China Sea.
What about Flesh and Blood or Turnabout?
I haven't read. The only DH Press Predator book I read was Forever Midnight, although I have all of them.
You fucking amateurs. Absolute amateurs. Because after this, DH Press gets good. Forever Midnight redeems the Hish, and it was good. It was solid.
Wait, not Forever Midnight.
Flesh and Blood, sorry,
Yeah.
redeems the Hish. That was a solid one. And then Turnabout and South China Sea are just fantastic. 10 out of 10s. So,
yeah, unlike John Shirley, I'm into the comics. But I was looking forward to get into these books, and I'm just waiting until we get to the good ones. I can't wait. I'm actually saving them now until we, get to it eventually on this podcast.
Okay, well, next free slot then, we're going to do Turnabout or South China Sea.
That'd be awesome.
We'll go with Turnabout, actually. It's a bit shorter. It won't be such a... I don't think Adam would have managed South China Sea in 2 days. So we'll go with Turnabout.
How long is South China Sea?
400-ish pages.
Yeah, that is a bit longer. This one was about 269. It was exactly 269 pages. So
I must ask, did you guys notice that the font seemed a little particularly small compared to other books of this length?
I believe most of DH presses were pretty much this big, Alien and Aliens, saving the page space.
If you compare that to Alex White's, it actually could have been a lot more pages if it was presented in, say, the Into Charybdis font and format.
Oh God! You know what? When that comes out in
paperback,
not paper, but there's different styles of paperback. I prefer the taller ones that they do, but there's another one that's like maybe a bit smaller than these. That they also Titan also publish some of the novels in. That's gonna be like that big when it comes to that size. That's gonna be mental.
Okay. So you just think it's based on the size?
Yeah, like I'm reading the Pat Cadigan's Alien 3 hardback at the minute. And the font's massive. I'm like, this feels like I'm reading one of my grandmother's books for when it comes to font size. But
that's the next book that's scheduled to come out, right? You got an early copy of that one.
Yeah. So I started reading that. An hour or so after reading this, I had to cleanse the palate. But that's going to be an interesting one in its own right because I hate the draft it's based on. I do, but
the first draft.
Yeah, but I've been really looking forward to this, and I actually really enjoy it so far. I'm like 6-7 chapters in. I'm really enjoying it. Cadigan is a good writer, really good writer so far.
That's great.
Anyway,
so as we get into initial impressions here, I want AJ to go first.
What?
because you're the Predator guy in terms of like you're all about the Predator's kind of hunting culture and all that, and this book really gets into that a bit. So I'm curious as to how you feel the Predators were represented in this book. So, oh great destroyer of worlds and everything peaceful, please enlighten us with your thoughts on this matter.
Can we just talk about Aaron's mustache? I've tried to forget this book as quickly as I read it. But I guess we're going to get into the nitty gritty afterwards. So I'm just going to keep it general. All right. So let's get into my thoughts on Predator Forever Midnight by Fred Decker and Shane Black. Oh, wait, that's not right. Right? Was it, could it be Robert Rodriguez? No.
Oh, come on. That was not fair.
Hey, his early script.
His early script. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'd rather read that script.
That was never published.
But here it is. It's by John Shirley. And you see where I'm going here, don't you guys? Look, I believe the prolific writer Stephen King admitted he wrote some of his wackiest books high on cocaine, which explains stuff like the space turtles that were featured in the book but it wasn't featured in the movie. Now, I am not suggesting or implying writer John Shirley was high on.
Yes, you fucking are.
But it sure as hell feels like it sometimes.
No, I am not implying that when writing Predator Forever Midnight, he was high. I'm not. But, however, if he did come out with such a revelation after reading this particular book, let's just say I wouldn't be surprised. Because instead of Predator Forever Midnight, I'd rather name it Predator Off the Deep End. Or perhaps Predator.
I was going to go with Forever Painful.
That's a good one too. Let's go with Predator, Bonkers, Bananas, and Batshit Crazy. All right, maybe not. It's hard to specifically articulate the problems I had with this book because I'm high on pain medication at the moment. But if I remove,
did you speak to John to ask for recommendations?
I am not implying
Doctor,
that.
I'm reading this book. I think I need a prescription.
Well, let me look at it first by removing my Predator fandom. I guess I can say it was written competently in the flimsiest way possible. There's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end.
There's a 1 act, 2 act, and 3 act structure.
With no real character arcs, to be honest, except some squeezed in the final pages. But some of the setup maintained my interest at first. If it was the East India Company in the 1800s, to Commander Ness on his crew of the Lazy Eye, I think was the name of the ship. So I thought it had potential. I like the planet itself and the structures and the way the jungle was formed. I thought it could be a fascinating location for a Predator story. But like a planet named Midnight, even though there was forever daylight.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
They said
It
it was named that way to be ironic. They actually said that in the book.
Okay, I missed that then. It must have been one of the 3 or 4 times it took me to read certain paragraphs.
So that's pretty stupid. And that's the story for me. I found these, 269 pages. Oh, so stupid. The humor, the dialogue, the characters' actions, so amateur and immature. So many crazy ideas inserted into this book without payoff. It just really made my head spin. I think it's still spinning. So now once I put this book back through the prism of being a Predator fan, it gets so much worse. And it gets me angry. It fucks with the lore. Even perhaps a worse way than 2018's The Predator did with the hybridization and the autism chasing. John Shirley, it feels like he kind of makes a mockery out of our favorite intergalactic hunters, I think. He turns predators into walking punchlines half the time, bumbling fools instead of dangerous foes, expert hunters. And often at times on the Predator ship, I thought I was reading a parody. I'm serious. I found the comedy that bad, Aye, Capitan, oh powerful reproductive organ. And that's an actual quote. Some authors...
Is that the actual quote, though? Because I know there was a line...
Not the Aye, Capitan, but oh powerful reproductive organ.
Okay, because there was another quote along those lines that the Predators say. That
we'll get there.
Really good. Yeah.
We'll get there. Yeah, but I have some of them written down, to be honest. But I don't know. Look, some authors realize how important it is to write within an existing IP with a pre-existing fan base, to respect the franchise you're writing in, to treat it with the utmost care. But John Shirley, to me, wrote without that care. He wrote without consequence.
So
I don't know.
Just as a reminder here, because I can never fucking remember how deep you've gone in. You've not read Perry's AVPs, right? Or you have?
Correct. Well, who wrote Hunter's Planet? Oh, that was Bischoff.
Yeah.
No, correct. I have.
Ooh.
So you've
Those are some I
not
gotta get to.
you've not come into this one having experienced the Ouija in written form on Dead Tree.
Correct.
Only online.
Because Perry's AVP kind of set up the I would say description of the predators that was most commonly used in the novels. And this was a big departure from that. Big departure.
But we'll bring that up as well when we get into more detail. I just wanted to put it out there for AJ's context against what AJ was saying there.
Well, all right. So I'll just wrap it up and pretty much say, hey, if you like the idea of predators shooting darts into people's necks so predator younglings can operate people remotely with joysticks like a video game, then maybe this book is for you. But it's not for me. So as a fan, maybe I'd rate this a 5, or a non-fan, excuse me. As a non-fan, it's just a general reader, maybe I'd grade this book a 5 out of 10. But as a Predator fan, 2 out of 10. Stay away.
I think that's being generous. In all honesty,
2 out of 10. I don't know, man. That's pretty harsh.
I'm going next. I'm going next.
Go next. You go
because the first time I read this, I liked it.
Oh, I was not the only one.
And I liked it as it was kind of a multiple of things. So this is the first original Predator novel. Everything else, well, I suppose outside of Hunter's Planet, but that's AVP, and followed on from Perry's stuff, kind of. But this was the first original Predator novel, and it was also the first brand new Predator book I got to read. And when this came out in 2006, I was a mid-teens, 16, 17. I was excited to have this new book, and I also fucking hate the Ouija. I think people know that. So I found the Hish as a big fuck you to the Ouija. So it kind of made me a bit okay, all right, yeah, go on then. Then I revisited it a month later or so, and I was like, this is fucking trash. This is absolute, this is absolute trash. And I haven't touched it since. In fact, when we were helping out on some stuff officially for some of the stuff that was used at Fox, I reread and provided summaries of D.H. Press's Predator novels, apart from this one, because I refused to reread it. I straight up refused to reread this, even helping out. I was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do this. This is painful. This book is just utter painful. It really is. There's minor things in it that I like. So things like the safari planet that predators would then go and do. I like that. I always have. I like the concept. Everything else in it, apart from what were the aliens' name? The lizard people. Karna.
That's right. Yeah.
Rattle. I liked their main Karna dude, Rattle. I thought I liked him. Outside of that, well, actually, no, that's a lie. As I started reading it, I really enjoyed the first chapter. The one set in the past in the 1800s. The prologue, maybe not chapter 1. The prologue. Yeah. I enjoyed chapter 1. And then when the Predators showed up was when I was like, okay, this has gone wrong. somehow. You know, I liked the writing of the first 2 chapters. I was like, this isn't bad. He's actually a good writer. You know, he's a Bram Stoker award-winning author.
Well, what is that award anyway? I mean, is that really something?
I think it's like a science fiction kind of fantasy.
It must be a horror award. It's Bram Stoker, isn't it? So that's Dracula.
Yeah. Well,
so
this is not a horror book.
And then
that's for sure.
After that, actually, it is in its own way.
I just found it so painful, so painful. You know how much I struggled with Infiltrator for the last one we did.
Yeah.
This was even worse. I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to finish reading it. Yeah.
That's it. That's
so
a good
what's
one.
your score?
So, I mean, John Shirley, just to get it out there, he is writing the new AVP novel that we've just learned. We've just learned this. He also wrote, what do I call it, the worst? Yeah, he also wrote the worst alien novel that DH Press did. He wrote Steel Egg. And I was so looking forward to that book. I was really looking forward to it. And all the stupid fucking random alien bullshit in this, we get that in Steel Egg. We get a diamond-shaped headed alien called Griff.
I want to read that.
Or they're called Griff, and the alien's name's Larry? Something like that. I've read that twice.
But you said he did a good story in Bug Hunt.
Yes. No, in Forever Midnight.
If It Bleeds.
If It Bleeds. He did Tin Warrior, I think it was called, in If It Bleeds.
Remind me the synopsis of that. Do you guys recall?
That is the one where they've built some sort of exosuit and they're testing it against a predator, and the predator gets out of the facility.
In the gladiator arena or whatever.
And then he has to chase him down.
None of that predator weirdness that you have in this book.
No. And to be fair to him, he had no fucking idea about Perry stuff. He had no idea about the Oucher. It wasn't in DH Press's Bible that they gave to the authors.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of franchise coordination at that time, I don't think.
No.
There wasn't any. We'll get to that once Adam's done, I think.
But I like the cover. Stephen,
the cover's cool. I mean, it's kind of it's like the McFarlane Celtic Photoshop.
Yeah.
It's embossed. It's embossed. It's nice.
Stephen Yule did all the covers for DH Press's stuff, and it was generally Photoshop stuff. But yeah, they were good. I enjoyed them. I shared one of those on the Facebook recently. I enjoy Stephen Yule's Photoshops.
And the pages are smooth. I don't get any paper cuts, so that's a positive.
I usually don't get paper cuts from books.
Dude, I'm trying to say good things.
So, yeah.
What's your score? Score?
What's the score?
Well, hang on. Let me try and talk about it. Okay, so I think one of my big issues was I just kept getting bored of how much he would talk about these unique creatures on the planet that were just showed up for a chapter. It was like the guy who had just gone, you know what, fuck it, I've got all these cool ideas for creatures, I'm just going to throw them all in here. And it was a rinse and repeat aspect of the book where some new creature would show up, they'd run away, predators would attack
and he
them.
would be like super descriptive of them. I think it took up more time than anything else in the book, is just describing all like the weirdness of the planet, which that was pretty cool. I'm like, okay, this is like this is like the Avatar world on steroids, I guess. But this book was before Avatar. But it's like it got to a point where it was just too much, and it became kind of comedic. How it was like every single time someone would see a new creature, he would go into this long description of all the intricacies of that creature.
I think I liked one of them. I think it was called the Leapers, where they had these little V-shaped things on their head that it would actually go ahead and
with drones.
That
was kind of neat.
Oh, and the names as well. Good God, some of the names of the creatures in it. What else fucked me off? I liked the idea of the Manchesterites. I liked the idea of the Manchesterites. Of this colony of humans. Well, it weren't even colony. It was a crew from a ship that had developed into a colony. And I liked that idea. I didn't like them. What's her face? The one they found, Anna Louise. Why was she so horny? All she cared about was fucking
Because she
sleeping
had to
with
deal
Beth.
with the terrible suitors in her tribe, the
Yeah, but it was
bog dude,
I-
bug sniffer, whatever.
It is really interesting how the women are written in this book, and we could get further into that once Aaron gets through this here. So
so that pissed me off as well. I was rolling my eyes at that. Derry, the kid, didn't sound like a fucking kid. I don't know what he sounded like, but it weren't a kid, and he annoyed.
yeah,
the
he was
shit out
11
of me.
years old, and he sounded like a genius, right? At some point. All right.
It got better towards the end when there wasn't endless.
See, you're talking about all these things I want to address, but this is your opening. So come on, give us a score, and then we can get to.
Well,
1
real
out
quick,
of 10.
how did you feel about how the Predators were portrayed?
It was so bad, but that's a whole category in itself. We'll talk about that. But
all right.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10.
All right, so we have a 2 out of 10. We have a 1 out of 10, and now it's
so Adam. It's not that bad, Zeller.
Hey, to be fair to myself, I said I remember it not being that bad, just as I remembered Hunter's Planet not being that bad. But thinking back, again, I read this in 2007. I was working a summer job on the Sundance ski lift. And when you're working on the ski lift in the summer, it's not quite as busy as it is on the winter. So it was common for employees to have books to read while there were long periods of nothing going on. And this was one of the DH Press books that I read. And I think I always thought the Predators were absurd. And Aaron, it's interesting you bring that up, that this was the first Predator novel ever, original Predator novel, because I guess you had the movie novelizations, but the first original Predator novel.
There were some comic novelizations as well.
Were there?
Yeah, Concrete Jungle, Cold War, and Big Game.
Oh, so
but
okay.
they were
Those
comic novels.
Okay,
yeah.
That's right. That's why I remembered those. Okay, or didn't remember. Anyway, yeah. So I always thought this book was wacky, especially in terms of the Predators. I think I knew that the Predators were portrayed in such a way that this portrayal of them wouldn't catch on, because I had read the AVP books at this point, and I was like, well, people call them the Yachtja, right? Like people refer to the Perry, what he came up with for the Predators a lot. That's kind of become in the novels the standard. And so this book was doing its own thing, completely different. And so with that, it was kind of amusing, I thought, because again, this was before the movie Predators came out in 2010. So the idea of a game preserve planet, we hadn't really gotten that in the prominent way that we would get that with that movie. And so I really like that first chapter as well, when they're bringing people from older world Earth to this planet, and it ends up being this tribe in the future. And I still think that could be a pretty cool concept. I did think the planet was really interesting, not just in that it was daylight all the time, but the jungle was so thick and dense that it was really dark in certain patches of the jungle, so dark they could hardly even see. And so I just thought the planet was very interesting in how it was described. A lot of the creatures were interesting. I did like some of the character dynamics. I don't think they were taken to their full potential. Like I felt like Anne Louise was a good character, regardless if she was horny all the time. And so for her to just be killed off, I was like, come on. Because that's always interesting when you have the tribal civilization come in contact with an advanced civilization, especially one that's been lost and is coming back to regular human society. So there were a number of interesting things about this book. The worst aspect was by far the Predators. And the Predators were so bad. And I remember this back in the day too, that I enjoyed it. Like it was like you said, AJ, it was a parody. When the Predators would shout all these weird kind of effusive praises at each other, and how they would and that's the thing, there's no male and female Predators in this either. They shift genders. They're hermaphroditic. They have like gender cycles. And that creates this kind of weird tension as well with some of them. So just how weird it was, like these never felt like Predators to me. These always felt like a bad representation of Predators. I think the book was just so wacky and wild that I got a kick out of it, even back in the day, because even with the lore issues, AJ, I was like, this is not going to catch on. This is never going to catch on. So I guess I kind of dismissed that. I was like, this isn't going to have any lore implications. It kind of did, I guess. Like in the Mortal Kombat game, like they're called the Hish Q10 in one of their variations, but it didn't really. I mean, maybe the Hish name has popped up here and there, but we haven't seen anything regarding the portrayal of the Predators in this book make its way into the wider lore, thank God. So, so I, even back then, I don't think I was ever really worried about that. I just thought it was so ridiculous that I kind of had to laugh at it and enjoy it. And how crazy the planet was, this wild ride they went on through this whole thing. The story of him trying to get back to his family, I was like, okay, I guess. But yeah, the colony, we never really got into the colony too much. I mean, a little bit, but it seemed like all the focus here was on the planet and how weird and wild the planet was. And the ending was so weird too. We'll get into that though. I still got a kick out of this book, but if you want to take this as a serious Predator book, you're not going to have a good time. No, it's if you're judging this as a book that's trying to be a serious Predator book, this is probably the worst representation of Predators I've ever seen.
No problem about it.
But if you're willing to read something ridiculous and like it for that fact, maybe have a couple drinks and be like,
if you're a fan of the Predator,
if you're a fan of the Predator and want to see them treated like complete shit just for a kick out of it, then you might enjoy this a little bit in some sort of twisted way, like I did. But yeah, I'd probably say, as if you're looking at it as a serious fan, I'd probably go along with you, Aaron. It's probably a 2 out of 10. It's terrible.
I was 1. It was AJ. AJ was the 2.
I'll agree with AJ.
Yeah,
it's 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
That's with me liking certain concepts
personally,
in it.
I don't know. I mean, it's difficult because
if you notice, sometimes, guys, I give reviews. I give multiple scores, right? As a perspective, as a Predator fan, an Alien fan, and then just a general fan, you know. And you could give one too, Adam.
All right, I guess I'll try that. I
think a 2 as a Predator fan.
A 2 as a Predator fan. If you're looking at this as like a serious Predator novel, yeah, it's terrible. But probably like a.
How is terrible a 2 out of 10 from both of you? How is terrible
20%? Like a failing grade, dude, is like what, less than 60%?
Yeah.
So yeah,
it'd be like a 5 would be a failure. And
yeah,
it's just degrees of failure.
Yeah,
I mean, 2 is miserable.
As a general reader, like you said, AJ, probably a 5 or a 6. Just because I thought the planet was so interesting in some of the elements. I liked the whole them trekking through the jungle with the rover. That was kind of interesting. And some of the things were just so crazy and wild that I couldn't help but be amused by them. Even if, as a Predator fan, I do not want them around outside of this book.
Yeah, that rover was neat. It had independent like axles and independent suspension. It could go in water and on the ground, and it was a huge thing. I think you could climb over anything, and yeah, there were some cool, interesting aspects that, like I said, if I could remove myself from being a Predator fan and not find this so offensive, I would still give it a 5. But a 5, yeah, Aaron, a 5 is a failing. It's 5 questions right out of 10. So if we're giving it a 2, it's 2 questions right out of 10. You know, it's if you look at it as like a school test, it's horrible. So
I just think it's worse. The
Predators, they just didn't feel like Predators at all. Which you don't want in a book called Predator. They felt like caricatures of Klingons, kind of.
Oh God!
No,
they are nothing like Klingons.
It was a parody. It was look. You know, there's been parodies in films, right? Titles are escaping me. Perhaps some Spaceballs.
Thinking of all the scary movies.
I apologize to Klingon fans. That's why I said caricature of Klingons.
Well, I don't know if you guys ever saw Spaceballs. It might be one where the underlings call their lead villain by these grandiose titles like, "Yes, my great overlord of evilness," or or at once my master of monstrous magnitude, and it's done that way to lampoon the evil stereotypical villain and the henchman that follows them, and it lampoons it in the film that it's parodying or the genre itself, and it's funny when it's a parody. But for me, Predator Forever Midnight was never billed as a parody. So in turn, it makes a mockery of the Predators and their communication within. Now, you were talking about lines. I have some lines here.
Oh,
Let me
wait.
just say a few of these.
So I got to say this one.
Yeah.
Because this kind of relates to the one you said before. This is actually on the same page of the treachery, oh powerful reproductive organ, in what manner. So this is between a predator who, again, recently became a female who was trying to like flirt with the son of like their commander or whatever. And the predator says, "Yes, oh magnificent throbbing rod of revenge."
I had that down.
I'm sorry, I had to
rod
take
of
it.
revenge.
And that son came out of nowhere as well.
Yeah.
And then formed the basis of
There
the
were a
main
lot of
guy's
things that came out of
motivation at
nowhere
the end of the book.
So you have, oh yes, exquisitely developed ruthlessness. Oh yes, powerful reproductive organ. Oh yes, killer of entire planets' populations. Oh yes, the wrecker of cosmic wreckage. I mean, this is a mockery,
Every time the predators addressed each other, it was this
Well,
wacky shit.
The funny thing as well is he fucking hated it himself. The predator that they were talking to hated it. I was like, yeah, I fucking hate reading it as well.
Yeah. So what was John Shirley thinking? And maybe that's where I can get into this whole idea of what he paid attention to and he didn't read the comics, because there's an interview online. It was a blog by another writer. His name was, I have it down here, Michael A. Ventrella. And he's a writer as well. But he asked John Shirley an assortment of questions, and Predator came up. And John acknowledged slightly that there was contention with Predator Forever Midnight.
I don't know if there's much contention, just universal agreement that it sucks.
And he kind of laid the blame gently towards fans who can be, quote, possessive about the franchise they love, end quote.
Always the fans' fault.
Oh, yeah. But surely he said he didn't bother reading all the comics at the time simply because it wasn't required. And to him, all he had to do was just watch the movies, and he launched from there, and he got to be creative with it. Now, what I found ironic in this interview is he said he also did a book based on the BioShock video games called BioShock Rapture.
Tell me I didn't play him.
No, well, and he revealed no, this is different. He revealed that it was plain difficult writing this book because the game developers were very hands-on, where Shirley acquiesced and said he'd rather adapt than argue with the developers. So what's ironic is in the same breath, John says that his BioShock book was the most successful of his existing franchise books. And I'm thinking, as I read this, maybe, John, there's a connection, the less far-reaching, the better.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I can understand not going and reading the old stuff. I can.
The comics.
Yeah, I can understand not reading the books, not reading the comics, because at the end of the day, and at that point in time, there wasn't a massively concerted effort to make it all fit and relevant. It wasn't unknown for these things to contradict each other, but there was more wrong with it than it not necessarily fit in some of the other stuff. It just plain didn't fit what we saw of them in the film.
In the movies. Yeah, this didn't feel anything like the Predators we saw in the movies at all.
And what did we have before that? It was Predator 1, Predator and Predator 2, and then both AVPs, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, when was
the
AVP?
first AVP. The first AVP.
The first one. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And Adam's going to hate me here, but they were called like crab face so much that in my head canon, these were like ADI AVP predators that were a different species than those.
I mean, that's what's on the cover,
predators.
so you can get that.
Yeah, that was my head canon. But
and on the cover as well, it's the AVP ships.
Yeah, the motherships, which they weren't described like that in the book either, but I guess that happens all the time with covers. Because you see there's a mothership at the end of the book, but it's not described like the AVP one.
Yeah, well, they I imagine this detail probably would have made you smile, AJ, where they were talking about the ground fog on the ships.
Yes, that was cool because it called back to Predator 2, and I'm like, okay, you're maintaining some consistency here. And what I liked something new was that the ship actually compensated its atmosphere for the breathers that were in particular rooms. Like you could tell what type of biological needs and adjust the airflow, for lack of a better word, accordingly. I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. So there were some minor things that came up that I'm like, oh, that's pretty.
There were some technological elements, both with the human and predator side of things, that were interesting, but it was just really the portrayal of their culture that I think was the biggest problem. Especially how they were such like slave drivers. They wanted to like take people over with mind control. They had personal shields that would disable really quickly when they attacked, which felt out of character for predators. There was one part where I was like, okay, this is not Predator here, where the Predator has a mind-controlled human, and he's like, cut the head off that one for me, collect my trophy. And I'm like,
yes.
There was a lot of behavior in this where it was, that's not a Predator. They went for the whole joy of the kill kind of thing rather than the thrill of the hunt.
The Predators were trying to convince themselves of that. Like they were always like, oh yes, the great joy of hunting, but it didn't. That was never really shown to us. It was always just a bunch of bravado.
I was right with you when Shesh Cook had Manning like chop off the head of the Predator or something like that, and I'll claim him as my trophy. I'm right with you, Adam. I'm like, you didn't earn that trophy, and someone else is killing it for you. You just ordered the guy to. Manning was his name, and maybe let's get into that ridiculous mind control, because maybe you guys can help me out here with that character Manning, right? So apparently in this book, predators like to are flirting with mind control, right? And we have this character Shesh, who is one of the United Nations Interstellar Settlement Corps.
Manning,
the Orbital Marines, former Orbital Marine.
Yeah, right. And so I need one of you guys to explain what the F, and I mean what the F, because here's Manning, right? And he's abducted by the predators, and he's in this experimental mind control program, okay? So Manning will do the predator's building, so he'll believe he's a predator. And part of the process is for him to believe he's talking to great Earth warmongers like General Genghis Khan and Richard the Lionheart. And
I forgot about that.
And General Patton. But instead of these figures being human, Genghis Khan has predator dreads, and he's got a plasma caster. And General Patton's the famous general in the United States Army during World War II. He has mandibles that he clicks, and he has mandibles. Let me repeat that, everyone. General Patton has mandibles, and he explains to Manning that the hunt is all. The hunt is everything. And this is how Manning's thought process has changed. So he's no longer on the side of humanity, and he's now a Hish, a predator.
He even said something about that later when he kind of snapped out of it again. He was like, I'm a man looking in who thinks he's a predator with the shell of a man or something. And it's like, this has just gotten so wacky. But he does break out of his mind control later. And after he's gotten like a number of their people killed, rejoins them to try and exact revenge on the predators.
How did he break away from that mind control? I got confused. It almost felt like he was out of their airwave range.
I think he was saying he got kind of, I guess, horrified by the deaths of Anne Louise and the guy who was Summers.
Yeah, Summers.
I think that kind of snapped him out of it a little bit. although he said when he started pursuing them, he said I was still kind of into it until I went into the underground tunnels. So maybe it was those underground tunnels. Maybe it was some sort of signal thing. But then when he left the tunnels, he was still free of it.
Well, I don't think it wasn't necessarily that was conditioning. That wasn't like the other guys with the
it was just indoctrination.
wave.
It wasn't it wasn't like remote control or anything.
It was just another one of those bullshit points.
Do you guys want to talk about the remote control?
Well, I actually, but I want to go back to some. This was something I did like actually.
All right, let's hear it.
This whole thing about the predators taking technology, and that was something I liked in the Alpha Predator lore as well, was the idea of them overthrowing their captors and stealing their stuff, because by all accounts they are a stagnant race. From what we've seen of all the stuff, the technology doesn't develop that much, so it kind of works in my head that they did steal the technology. They may know how to maintain it and stuff.
I'm honestly not big on that concept.
I like it. I just think.
Well, they do upgrade it, Aaron. They just don't maintain it. They do upgrade it. At least
just
according
because
to the
they
Neca lore.
Maintain a culture, I don't think doesn't mean they don't have technological upgrades. I mean, we saw even whatever you think about it. The movie The Predator showed that they were experimenting with new things
I forget The Predator.
As well as the armor was newer looking than we had seen before. So to me, it's always there's a lot of the Predator society we don't see in terms of the Predator scientists and the Predator engineers, and we see on their homeworld briefly in AVPR that they are a very advanced race. And for me, it kind of cheapens them to, they just stole everything from more advanced races and are using their technology. Like for me, the cool juxtaposition of the Predators is how tribal they are with how advanced they are. And if they got all that advancement from other races, I'm just like, it kind of just makes them into these brutish thugs, you know? Like to me, I want the Predators to be more sophisticated than that they developed a lot of, if not all of this crazy technology, but they still decide to live in a tribal context. At least some of their clans do that we've seen. Maybe not all clans live that way. So for me, to have them just steal all the technology and be these like brutish slave drivers and stuff, it's not how I like to perceive Predators.
I don't like to perceive them as slave drivers either, but the Neca lore for the Alpha figure gave us the best of both worlds. They not only took people's technology, but they improved upon. So I kind of like that balance. It's a little of what you're saying, Adam, and a little of what you're saying, Aaron, that they steal technology, but they're smart enough to improve upon it and expand upon it. So I like that they take different cultures' technology and they infuse their own. I think it's really a fascinating element.
I could get that, but as long as they have an element of their own, and this book seemed to portray them as like they stole everything, like everything was developed by their slaves and stuff like that. So that sort of portrayal, I'm not about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I say, there's ideas and elements that I like, but execution, no. But
yeah, you were actually talking about ideas and concepts. So let's go back to the Predators concept, right? I mean, who came up with the Predator hunting reserve planet first?
Rodriguez did, because he had that
it wasn't a hunting reserve though.
Yeah, it was like
a zoo.
It was like a prison planet or something.
No, it was they brought them with them. They weren't unleashed on the world to just roam around and then everybody dropped down, because if you remember, they were all in cages.
Yeah, but it was like a zoo, which
so I'm wondering if Rodriguez took that idea from this book, because it's dropping like the River Ghost and Predators. We have the Karna, these beings with alligator skin and eyes like snakes.
I doubt Rodriguez or Alex Litvak or Mike Finch fucking read this book.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, I don't know. That first Predator script, he might have enjoyed it.
I think another thing too with this for me is this was before Avatar came out in 2009. So, and that's kind of the movie you think of when it comes to just a weird
wacky
alien planet.
Yeah.
And so reading that before that, mainstream kind of portrayal of that sort of alien world, I think that was a very interesting factor, but like we said before, it did go very overboard in terms of it would keep showing you all these new creatures and all these new elements of this planet, and would go into such long-winded ways of describing them that I'm like, okay, like this just seems a bit much here. Like I'm getting a little overwhelmed with this. Like you have me interested in this thing. You're just kind of focusing way too much on it. and not enough on the characters. And like, so
to be fair, I think James Cameron was developing Avatar in the 1990s at first. I mean, not that he's not guilty of stealing, or maybe stealing's too harsh of a word, but borrowing ideas. But I think Avatar was actually scripted prior to this book. But, you know, that was more Pocahontas and Dances with Wolves kind of borrowing.
And to be fair, I doubt the concept of weird and wacky stuff on a sci-fi world's original to
no. But
this.
again,
I'm sure many authors
just saying,
have done that.
From the age I was at, the kind of like, I made that connection when I saw Avatar. I was like, oh, it's kind of like this weird jungle alien planet, you know, from Forever. Obviously, there's a lot of differences too, but I kind of made that connection.
I guess on its own, I might be interested a little. It wasn't delivered well. You know, I said I like those leaper creatures, but some of them, they weren't described very interestingly, and they didn't pay off, most of them. And it was just one random creature after another, and
it was too repetitive, and it just felt like Shirley was dumping a load of stuff that he'd thought about in the past, or thought, oh, that'd be cool, and just dumping it into the book because he wasn't going to get a chance to do it.
Because at one point they're talking about using these flying helium-filled bugs to build a balloon, but nothing ever comes of that. And I'm just like, why even like spend time talking about that?
It feels like he's like, oh, I need 20 more pages. Let me fill in a little section here, you know.
And I gotta say, the ending, there's a character who's this loyal character throughout the whole book, and then when this guy
Georgie
gets back together with his family, Georgie, she's just like, I don't think I'm gonna let you go back to Earth with your pretty little family. I'm just gonna kill them all. And I'm like, this is out of left field. Okay, like,
if Georgie can't have her man, no one will.
It's like she never even hinted at having those kind of feelings for him in the whole book.
We're all gonna die and let the predators win. So, Adam, what did you think about that kill gland?
That's what I was asking you. Don't you try and get out of this.
I will pass. I mean, what are these things? These things are under like the predator's collarbone, I guess. And ironically can make them into a berserker rage, especially if you pierce them and spread them among lots of predators. They'll just go and start attacking each other and killing each other.
I saw that coming, not remembering it, and I was just like, that is both incredibly stupid, but also at least it's an inventive way to get rid of the predators? Question mark? Raised eyebrow? Confused face?
The main character, Ness, yanks out a kill gland because the mind-controlled character Manon told him about these kill glands. He's like, oh yeah, the predators barely survive this as a race, you know, and because they would just go berserk and kill the person next to them because they had to deal with this kill gland. They had to use drugs to suppress the kill gland and all that. So he yanks a kill gland out of one of the predator's corpses, throws it in a blender with like
with vinegar,
puts it in a jar, and
it just instinctively did it as well. I don't know how that helped the situation.
This is all like while being pursued by the predators. Like they're not far away at this point.
And he'd very deliberately done it as well. Let's add that he went back up there for this purpose.
With water and vinegar and a little umbrella. Go ahead, Adam.
Throws the jar onto the ceiling above the predators, and they all lose their minds and kill each other. So,
and well, why did I'm sure they were all wearing masks. It wasn't specifically described as. Oh no, they said about skin contact.
That kill gland is strong, man.
Oh, yeah, no, they did. He did say about skin contact. So it wasn't the smell, but yeah, that's stupid as fuck.
Yeah, it's just. No.
It was bad.
So what do you guys? Speaking about biology, what do you guys feel about the predator reproduction? You know, the both. You know, you start out as a male and you become a female, and I guess return as a male again at some point.
I think they just kept cycling, didn't they? Wasn't that what it said?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They cycle back and forth. It's weird. I guess. I just.
Are there any reptiles that do that? I mean,
I think frogs can change sex. I believe frogs can. So
Well, that was the whole thing in Jurassic Park, wasn't it? The frog DNA that let them change gender.
Yeah.
Sex.
But me, it was just the way it was stupidly handled. And it guys. All right. Let's imagine this here. Okay, this is how John Shirley writes it, right? When male predators would enter their female modality, as he called it, they would get purple mottling around their jaws, like purple lipstick. They would braid their dreads with bright color decorations, just like bows. This is in the book. I'm not making it up. And due to their hormonal shift, they would stay home until they spawn. And the best part, yes, ladies and gentlemen, predators in female mode would get PMS. In a predator's early stage of female modality, they would become unpredictable thanks to their hormones. Hey, predator hunting ground haters, how are those equal, maybe more dangerous female hunters looking to you now after reading this book?
It's only the boobs. It's only the boobs.
Here we go. We could talk about this for an hour. The point is, he said this. He made it like purple lipsticks. He made it like color braids. He made it, and it's kind of funny how John Shirley presents just females entirely in this book, and I can see them getting upset with that. Just like we were talking about Georgie, where it's like, if Georgie can't have her man, nobody will. And
that just came out of nowhere too.
Yeah. Like, and what's her name? Anne Louise being so horny. I mean, all these are just stereotypical.
The women weren't written well. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Like even when it came to Nessa's wife, it was the 11-year-old boy
that
was
just
the fucking
following
hero.
around Derry the whole time.
Yeah, and Derry was the one that knew what was good for his mom. With the whole stepdad situation.
It was all about Ness coming back to rescue, the woman and her son, and they really weren't written well.
No,
so which is funny because John Shirley approaches to me with a very liberal political writing style. Saying that I think it was Christian terrorists are in this future.
I did like that actually. That made me laugh. I'm not big on organized religion, so that gave me a chuckle.
And the fact, they're going to stay on this planet to stop, all the environmental stuff. So I was just kind of surprised that when it comes to females, man, predators get PMS, man. Ugh. So I don't know.
It's just so bad. It's just so bad. That's all there is to say, really.
It is.
Oh God.
It is. And what about that relationship arc anyway with Elena that came out of nowhere? I mean, suddenly, he's just coming to see his son and hoping his son is alive. And next thing, while a predator's coming for them, he opens up and says, maybe he was too macho. And she was mad because he went from the O Marines to the UNISC. And she cut him off, assumingly from sex. So he had an affair, but he really loves her. And he really didn't want to marry this other woman. Sorry. That's the
what did you say? This other
open. I don't know. I'm really highly medicated on and this was all happening while the predator was like coming, and I'm like, why didn't this arc stretch across the whole entire book? Like, we learn why they separated. We go to flashbacks, and somehow across this journey, Ness realizes the error in his ways and how fragile relationships are or whatever, but it doesn't. It's just all thrown into a page and a half.
And he just inserts himself back into their lives as well. That's the entire point of what he's doing. It's like, I don't give a shit that you've run away to escape me. I'm just, fuck it. I'm coming here. You can't escape me. And then he does the same at the end with the kid. And it's like, you're gonna be saying lots more of me. And she went to say something, and then was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna deal with it.
And then at the very end, they're like, "Oh, the company's gonna come and strip mine this planet. We got to protect it." I was like, "Where did this come from? We're in the last 2 pages of the book here." Like,
why couldn't that be a revelation? That it occurred during the book.
It's like he got 3/4 of the way through the book writing a chase novel describing weird and wacky, wonderful creatures and plants and trees, and have a character consider sticking his dick in a sucking tree.
I forgot about that part. I was like, is that what he's suggesting? And then I kind of moved on, and I was like, okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one that got that impression.
And then we get to the last quarter of the book where it's like, shit, there needs to be some story here. So we have this predator kid show up out of nowhere that makes the main predator character go off, and then you have all this stuff with the geothermal plant that's supposed to power. It's like he realized at the end of the book that he needed some plot.
And when Manon goes up to the Predator mothership and the Predators stand around like imbeciles, well, he turns the ship's gun on itself to destroy them all. And
they were drunk or
musing
something.
over sending him to the playroom where they keep all the Predator children to rip things apart that they throw in there. I'm just like, this is so crazy. So crazy. Like, but again, like, I don't mean to end, like, okay, I'm so glad that Shirley wrote an interesting Predator story, and If It Bleeds, Aaron, like, that's very comforting to hear that, because he has an AVP novel coming. So I am not, I'm almost never going to write off an artist, even if I really didn't like a piece of their work. I'm always hoping, just like you are with ADI Voodoo, like, oh, this next time, I really hope they get it right, And with AVP, I really hope Shirley gets it right. But please, no kill glands. No.
Watch him respect his book. Like, I'm going to make a sequel.
Please, no predators shouting weird praise at each other after they've just changed sexes.
That's a good point. Is he going to ignore in his... in his writing everything he wrote before? I mean, did he in that short story? I guess he did.
Right? I can't remember if that was just a no thing or if that was a Yautja thing, because from what I remember, a lot of the stuff in If It Bleeds was Yautja based.
Yeah.
But the next one's good. Flesh and Blood's good. It's got the Hish in it, but it's good.
You tell me, like, they don't go into the Hish culture at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're movie predators. I remember one bit in that where it was like they killed some random dudes, and I was like, okay, one bit's okay. One bit's okay. The Hish in that were better. They're more like how I tended to view predators. Because, I mentioned earlier, I don't like the Yautja. So that interpretation was a bit more of how I tend to think of the predators.
But in terms of the Hish being something like the Berserker predators of predators, just another species of predator.
That's bullshit. This book did not happen. None of this is
You don't want that incorporated into canon?
No, I know some people like to try and justify them as some other thing, and I know Neca's thing made it be like, yeah, they were the Hish, but they were little bitches, and now
I think they also called them
the Yautja.
They called the Hish, I think, ancient ancestors.
Yeah.
So, and but if you remember in the Neca storyline, they were weak, bumbling fools, and they were slaves to the Amengi. However you want to pronounce it.
Amengi.
Yeah, I go Amengi. Yeah.
Okay. And it wasn't until they developed these guys as gladiators and stuff like that is where they truly became predators. So I can reconcile this in my head some way, if I have to, that this is pre-predators as we know it. They're little weaklings, little babies that call each other rods of.
It's an alternate timeline book where they never overthrew the Amengi, but the Amengi are their slaves somehow. But they're a different Amengi because they're not Jean-Claude Van Damme. They're a little bug creature. Well, man-sized cockroaches.
Yeah.
This book so bad.
And you guys haven't even talked about the joysticks. The Predator younglings.
The Predators have these drones that they fly into the human colony, and they shoot some of the colonists in the neck with these little devices that like burrow their way into their nervous system somehow. And then the predator younglings, to train to become hunters later in their life, they start controlling these people like crazy killers, and it turns into kind of a horror movie sequence where you have this little girl saying, "Come here and kill with me," and she like bashes this person with the pipe.
You know, let me tell you what this reminded me of. When I was in school, year 10, we used to have a thing called Activities Week, where we each day in this week we'd go off and do some crazy stuff that we wouldn't normally do as part of school. And one year they did a film day, a film course where you could go and make your own films. And we ended up making a horror film, and it was like a 2-minute shot of just a guy walking at the screen. Just, the fucking Michael Myers thing of a guy with a knife. It was just a straight 2-minute shot. Just a straight 2-minute shot of this. And that's all I thought about when they were describing the kids and the people just zombie-like trying to chase down people. I was just like, that reminds me of being at school.
And then the predators were all watching the kids play the video game. And they were just like, oh, look at them kill. Yes, kill children. And it was just so silly. It's just so silly.
And their arms were flailing around, Why'd you guys make me read this book?
Because Adam kept saying it wasn't that bad.
Adam,
I wanted you to suffer, AJ.
It's for all those late jokes I used to do. And to Adam's credit, he's been very punctual this year. 2021 is the year of the new Adam.
Well, the latter half.
Earlier
this year.
To be fair, I just put stuff back because he didn't finish reading it.
Sometimes I've had good reasons, though. Anyway.
Yeah.
This.
Okay.
Is there anything else to say?
I just had to show you how bad predators could get in terms of their portrayal.
Thank you.
What are you on about, Adam? It wasn't that bad. It's not that bad.
I mean, it's not that bad for a weird and wacky romp through a crazy alien jungle planet with the most absurd, ridiculous portrayal of the predators you could possibly imagine. So if you're curious about that, go for it. And you'll get some sick, twisted enjoyment out of it like I did.
Don't do it, guys. Don't do it. Look, there's already spoilers, obviously. We've spoiled the whole entire book. But if you want a book where a predator gets thrown into boiling water and the hero says, "Nothing like the smell of boiled crab." Mouth-watering.
That's right. Oh, that was so good.
Then this is the book for you.
I bet. Otherwise, did he say something about it making his mouth water as well?
Yeah, mouth-watering. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that guy from Strange Brew, the comic, he'd probably get on with it. Adam has no clue. I bet you haven't read Strange Brew, have you?
No. What's that?
A guy cooks a predator.
I remember that.
A
gumbo?
Been
a long time.
Yeah,
I remember that now. It's been a long time. I need to go through all the comics again, but
not that.
Now that said, Predator fans had it a lot better in the noise when it came to DH Press books. Dog shit, really solid, fantastic. Predator only went from shit to brilliant with DH Press.
Yeah.
Now Alien. Number one's on the other shelf. I didn't get that down. That went from weird.
Weird. I gotta interject here. DNA War, just like Forever Midnight, I read in that same time in my life, and I remember really enjoying DNA War.
These guys don't do it.
Okay. You have to admit, DNA War is not nearly as bad as Forever Midnight.
No, God, no.
Okay,
no.
Good.
No, nothing. Well, no, that's a lie. I'm going to say nothing is as bad as Forever Midnight. But then we have Steel Egg by John Shirley. It's as bad as Forever Midnight.
Oh, we got to read that one too.
No.
So with Alien, it's Original Sin. Weird. DNA War. Weird. Cauldron. Okay. Criminal Enterprises, the best, but still, Steel Egg, shit. And No Exit. No Exit, I think, is the biggest disappointment of these because it starts so good and it's so interesting. And then the last third of this book is just fucking batshit insane insanity.
Really cool cover, though.
You have, it's supposed to be language barrier kind of thing. It's like a Swede who doesn't really speak English, and instead it comes off as not quite all there, and he goes hands to hand with an alien, and it was just so offensive when with that portrayal. But the first 2/3 of this are brilliant, and then that last third is just what the fuck. So Predator fans had it a lot better, a lot better with the DH Press days.
Even with this,
the ones that stayed around, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, if you bothered to read, because the funny thing was, Flesh and Blood kept getting delayed. It just kept getting delayed and pushed back and pushed back.
I remember that, yeah.
And then when that came out, I was honestly surprised at how good this was. Really solid. You know what? We'll have to. Well, no, because we're going to skip ahead to Turnabout. Aren't we? But I do recommend this.
Please
one.
Please skip.
They never re-released the Titan. Never re-released the DH Press books.
No. Or the comics, or the comic times. No, did they? Did they do? Yeah, they did do the comic times. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know why they didn't release these. I assume
the AVP Prey trilogy.
But I think they did the complete Predator omnibus as well with Cold.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Next free slot, then we'll do Turnabout.
Good, because I've never read it and I hear it's awesome.
It's very good. I was worried about this one going in.
Is Turnabout as hard to find as South China Sea is?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yes.
So that's probably why those books are so hard to find, is because they haven't been reprinted, even digitally. Had to read this one the old-fashioned way again.
Nobody reading it out to you.
No digital highlight.
He got his girlfriend the second book to read while Adam was reading.
No, but it was I don't know. It was kind of nice to read a book the old-fashioned way too.
Oh, good.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's good to vary the way you read things.
You mean the proper way, right?
There is, as long as you're retaining the information, that's the proper way.
Well, I don't want to retain. I don't want to retain this information.
No.
I'm just. You know how we joked in Hunter's Planet about me going, was it really that bad?
Yeah.
It's
worse.
This is one of the ones where I'm never going to go, was it really that bad? I think I need a reread to see. This will always be, yeah, it was shit. It was really bad. I honestly think this is the lowest point of the Predator franchise. Even on top of the Predator, even on top of some of the shit comics. What was the bad reboot?
I prefer
Pray to the Heavens. Pray to the Heavens. This is the lowest the franchise has ever got.
I would agree in terms of taking it as a serious.
It's a fucking Predator book. You take it as a Predator book.
You have to wonder if it was meant to be a parody or not.
It wasn't.
I never got that. No.
So
don't you know the fans are the problem anyway?
Yeah, and somehow, according to Amazon, this book is a 4 out of 5.
Oh man.
However, I do very much agree with the title of this one particular 1-star review. That is worst book I've ever read.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
it's so bad.
What is the worst book you ever read then, Adam?
I don't know. I probably tried to forget it.
So on Goodreads, looks like it's about 3 out of 5 is the average review.
That's too high.
We're done. I didn't want to talk more than 10 minutes about this. I really didn't. Just fucking hated it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else I've got to contribute.
Yeah, that's it.
We're done.
Come on, guys. Yeah.
And it's still somehow probably not our shortest podcast as well either. But
really. Like I said, guys, bonkers, bananas, and batshit crazy. Have at it.
Yeah.
It's just avoid this book, full stop. Anyway,
I wonder how hard this one is to find. If I was to go to Amazon and if I wanted to find a copy,
I bet you can find it for 10 cents on eBay. that's the buy it now option.
You know, with completists, I bet it's something like $10-15. I bet.
Buy used for $995. Wow, it's going for even more.
Get fucked. What's that from eBay?
Amazon.
900. That can't be right?
It is right.
It was a typo.
And mass market paperback. I guess that's rare these days.
Fuck, what? It's $30 on.
I'm checking
Amazon.co.uk. Yeah.
No, it's on.com.
One new from $919 on Amazon.
Right. I found one on
third-party
eBay.
sellers, man, are a little.
I found one on eBay for $15.44 American dollars,
and that's still too much
with free shipping.
It says on the back of the book $6.99. Don't pay any more than that.
Don't pay that. don't take it for free. Look, I always say, if somebody tells me something's bad, I'm gonna read it or watch it or play it. If I have any interest, I'm going to read it, watch it, or play it and make up my own mind. Don't fucking bother. Just trust us. This is dog shit. It's not worth your time. This was harder to read than Infiltrating. You heard how much I wanted to throw that at the wall. This was a goddamn chore.
You know,
and I hate Adam for challenging it. I hate Neca for bringing out the Alpha Predator.
It was your idea. You're the one who wanted to do the podcast. I just brought it up because every time we would get on Hunting Grounds, well, not every time, but sometimes, and AJ would be like, "Oh, I love that Hish backstory." I'd be like, "Oh, if only you knew about the Hish, my friend." And so,
I love the Alpha backstory. I mean, you know, both. Let's give credit to Neca and Ilphonic. They did a lot of course correction. And I know you're not a huge fan of the Alpha, but backstory.
No, I think the Alpha's. I think the Alpha's a cool backstory. I just don't know if I would want it fully incorporated in canon, but that's a whole other discussion. There's a lot of Predator things I think are awesome and really cool that I wouldn't want as official canon that I've seen in the extended universe. I don't know. I'd have to write a list or something. But
Predator. You know, I bet I could move this book for $20. I could have a booth.
Well,
hang on.
You don't want to keep it on your shelf?
No, just hear me out. I would have a ton of Predator Forever Midnight books, and my sign would say Predator Forever Midnight, $20. And people would line up, and I'd say, "Here's your book, and here's your $20." And the next one would come up, and so on.
What can I say? I'm just sadistic. I wanted you guys to experience this book.
This was the hardest one to prepare for this podcast. It really was, man.
It can only go up from here, right?
Yeah, this is very true. That is very true.
Thanks. I think.
Man.
Although to be fair, I'm actually quite looking forward to reading Turnabout again. I haven't read it for a couple of years.
Well, what would be the next, gentleman? Anyway, it would be Alien, right? The comics, maybe, and then also Fireteam Elite.
In terms of scheduling, well, I don't know scheduling. In terms of stuff coming up, we've got Fireteam to talk about. We've got Marvel's first arc, which is Bloodlines, to talk about, and we'll throw in Aftermath in there as well.
Bloodlines is going to be fun.
We're gonna have.
That's another one I need to get drunk for.
That's not going to be a fun one. We've got Cadigan's Alien 3 to do, which
that sounds like it's going to be good.
Could be interesting. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how it goes when we get into the more insane elements that I didn't like about the script. But she's been doing a good job at doing what adaptations do, and that's explaining stuff that wasn't necessarily explained in the films or in the the comics, the source material. So that's been nice.
We're not doing a podcast on the cookbook, are we?
No.
What? Why not?
I wouldn't know where to begin with that. I didn't request a review copy of it, but I was sent one.
Request one for me? Oh, you already got one? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm
Adam would
planning...
take us in the kitchen and prepare the meals.
Right.
Yeah, well, the last time you
Alien Cooking with Adam, that would make a good YouTube video.
Well, I'm planning on doing a video is what I'm planning on doing. Trying to cook one of the things in it. We'll see if it happens. We'll see if it happens.
That would make for a good video.
My culinary skills aren't particularly great.
See,
so
we should have a cook-off. You do one, and then I do one, and we release the videos at the same time, and see who messed up the dishes more.
Look, there's eyes in your face.
I'm
chest burster.
I'm finding that a good idea.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
You're gonna have to cut this so it's not.
Do you do home cooking, Voodoo? You want to jump in on this?
I do home cooking, but no, I do not want to jump in on this.
Oh man, you should see one of them.
I don't want to make a chest burster at home.
Make a funny. Make a funny.
Wait, what?
I do not want to make that. No.
You don't want to make a pepper that looks like a vagina?
No.
Wait, sure? Is that called the entrance to the derelict or something?
I don't know. It's still in it. It's still in its cellophane. I haven't opened it yet.
You guys could do the fingering.
Do you remember right around Alien Covenant there was that photographer?
Yeah, Christine something.
Yeah, she made some really cool looking alien dishes.
Oh yeah. Her bakery stuff was great. I tried to watch her show, but I couldn't get into it. Actually,
wasn't it on Netflix for a while? I think
it was. Yeah.
To our listeners and viewers, sorry this has been such a negative podcast. If this is your first time, we promise we're not always this negative. I think this is probably the most negative podcast we've ever done, where we're all kind of in universal agreement.
Yeah, there's just been a few recent books we've looked at that haven't been.
Even Infiltrator, I kind of defended that one a little bit. I was like,
yeah,
I
suppose
it was okay, but
yeah, I think I hated that one more than you did.
But I think I got a bit more of a twisted amusement out of this book than you guys did.
Yeah, but you also like shitty horror films on purpose.
Sometimes my taste
Look,
is
to
very
cleanse your
eclectic,
palate.
what can I say?
You guys need to go to one of our Predator 2 podcasts. Either when we talk about its 30th anniversary or our interview with Stephen Hopkins. Cleanse the palate. Yeah.
And hey, next year is hopefully going to be a really good Predator year because it will be the 35th anniversary of the original Predator.
And Skull Predator 5 will be coming out next year.
I know. Yes, that's going to be a big one as well, obviously. Didn't we do a Predator? We revisited the first film not too long ago.
5 for the 30th anniversary.
Oh, well, it's been 5 years. We could do another one. We could,
I think
have you ever seen it in 3D, Aaron? The original Predator? It's really good in 3D.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't want to go buy a 3D tally, so that's probably unlikely.
There's not many movies that make it worth it, but Predator is one of them.
I'll tell you what I really liked in the cinema was Titanic in 3D. I thought the conversion on that was really good.
Yeah, I own the disc. That one's good too. Guardians of the Galaxy is another wonderful one.
That it became a big thing in theaters after Avatar, and then it kind of slipped away. So I wonder if James Cameron's going to bring that back with the Avatar sequels, if that'll make 3D a big thing again. Because remember when Prometheus came out and it was such a big thing that was an IMAX 3D, and when Alien Covenant was coming out, I was like, is he going to do the 3D thing again? And he didn't.
I didn't know. I think 3D is one of those gimmicks that just it cycles back around every now and again.
Yeah, sometimes it works really well. Like you get a movie like Tron Legacy in 3D on IMAX, and
Well, Tron Legacy is just a beautiful film, full stop.
At home, I've found the 3D experience much better. If you have a crystal clear television and it's a lot brighter than a movie theater, it could be so much more immersive. Something like Guardians of the Galaxy, where they're traveling through nowhere and you see all these structures in the foreground and the background, and it actually enhances the experience. And same thing with Predator, with the jungle, with you get a more claustrophobic feel to it. Something like Terminator 2 as well. And when you're going through those canals, those concrete drainage canals, it really makes it even more thrilling. So sometimes I think it can enhance the experience, but I would say the majority of the films shouldn't have been in 3D, and it actually degrades from the experience. It's a poor conversion.
Yeah, most conversions are not great, but there's a few that are. Predator's one of them. Another one was Jurassic Park. I saw the original Jurassic Park when it came back to theaters in 3D, and that one was really good conversion as well.
What I was disappointed is The Predator 2018 that came out in 3D, but I have not been. Yeah, but I've not been able to get a disc for that. It hasn't been released. I think they released it in Russia, and that was it.
I never saw it in 3D.
Yeah.
I don't remember it in 3D. But to be fair, when I'm given the option, I don't generally tend to go watch 3Ds, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well,
right. I think we're done, aren't we?
Sorry we were so negative, everybody.
Yeah. We really enjoyed Into Charybdis. If you want to go hear us be good about it and enthuse about a book. What else? No, Thicker Than Blood was half and half. Alien. I think the original screenplay we were quite happy with. It was just Adam that had the problem with some of the art stuff in that one. But yeah, that was a positive one.
Yeah, I still enjoyed it overall. I still think it was pretty solid.
I think Eric enjoyed it too. I think overall.
I really enjoyed that one as well.
I will say I'm still looking forward to the AVP book by Shirley because we don't get enough AVP, and it seems like we might have some more coming. So that's nice to see. And
I'm scared, but hopeful.
I'm gonna read it with an open mind. I'm not gonna write off any creator that wants to work in this universe, regardless of what they've done before. Just please no Kill Glance.
No predator younglings playing video games
with people,
or video games in general.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's some predator video games.
In his defense, Forever Midnight came out back in 2006, and if you say he did a better job, and if it bleeds,
it did.
Then yeah.
I was quite worried when I saw his name in that book, and then I didn't. There's not a single short in that book that I didn't like, so I was very happy with that book and very happy with his work in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's be done with it because I get depressed when I have to go listen to these things twice when I'm editing them. So let's not make this any longer on it.
Again in another. How many years?
Unequivocally, I know this book is just awful and not worth my time. I've read it again once, so I've got. I don't. Unlike some content creators, I do not rely on Xenopedia and other content creators for our content creation. So I had to go back and reread this for the Amengi stuff in it. That's it. I'm done. I'm not doing a Hish video on that. I'm not.
And ironically, what was it? 2 pages, 3 pages?
Yeah, there was very little in it. Actually, I thought they had a much more substantial role in this book than they do.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is I can't even be asked to do the social shout-outs.
I'll do the socials. If you want to check out our website, it's avpgalaxy.net, and we are on all the major socials: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you search AVP Galaxy or Alien versus Predator Galaxy, you're sure to find us. Also, with the new Aliens Fireteam coming out and more Predator Hunting Grounds content on the way, we also have a Discord and a Steam group that we are kind of building up. So if you're interested in that, we will post that information in the video description.
Okay. If you want to follow me personally on Twitter, I'm @_Corporal Hicks.
If you'd like to follow me on either Twitter or Instagram, I am @RidgeTop21.
Oh, actually, sorry, AJ, sorry to interrupt. While we're bigging ourselves up, Adam, the Ilphonic community highlight thing.
Yeah. Oh, shucks. Well, thank you.
Come and tell folk.
Okay, so I take a lot of virtual photography in video games. I'm a photographer in real life as well, and that's what I've gone to university for. And so some years back, I think it actually kind of started with Colonial Marines. I think that game didn't have a photo mode, but I think I would just switch the weapon quickly so there would be nothing on the screen, and then I would take a screenshot. And I think that's what actually kind of got me into virtual photography, if we're not going all the way back to like the Pokemon Snap days, right?
That's the entire point of that game.
Yeah, but anyway, so that became kind of a hobby of mine. And when Hunting Grounds came out, I kind of had to crop out the HUD, and I started taking these screenshots, and Ilphonic was always, pretty positive about them. And then they disabled the HUD for the game, or allowed us to disable the HUD. And so we could take much more high resolution virtual photography in the game. And so I've done that with you guys a number of times. You guys have been kind enough to jump on a private match with me and pose for me.
Yeah, I was a model. I was Isabel.
You were Isabel,
once.
yeah.
And RidgeTop said my ass was awesome, like standard. Sorry.
So yeah, the IllFonic kind of surprised me, honestly, and invited me for World Photography Day to talk to them about virtual photography in their game. So if you'd like to check that out, we will also leave a link in that as well. And I'm looking forward to their new content coming up. So I can take some screenshots of that with you guys also. I'm really hoping they finally add night mode, because that would make for some interesting lighting scenarios for sure.
Fingers crossed.
AJ, follow that.
Oh, come on.
I have a Legendary Encounters Predator deck building game video that I worked very hard on. It's on the AVP Galaxy YouTube channel, and it goes over not just an unboxing, but the game mechanics.
It shows you how to play the game.
Mini review. So if you'd like to check that out, you could check that out too. It's not as glamorous as what Adam has to offer, but it's still simple.
I just watched it. That was a good video you put together on that.
It's made me finally be like, you know what, it's time to fucking do a gameplay video of this, because it's something I've wanted to do for years. Because I learned how to play the game by watching videos of people playing the game while I was waiting for my copy to show up. And I'm like, right, time for me to do this. And,
did you do one on the Aliens one, Aaron? Legendary Encounters?
No, I did it. I did an unboxing of the Colonial Marines, the Alien Covenant expansion that they did, but not a gameplay thing. And I brought an overhead rig ages ago to do this, but I never got around to it. So I've been messaging Chevy, and we're trying to work out a time for him to come over, and we'll go through some of the scenarios. And that's all because of AJ doing his video and reminding me how fucking awesome that game engine is, and how awesome the Alien and Predator versions of it are. Awesome. So, anyway, AJ, what about social channels? Where can people follow you?
You could follow me on Twitter at FN VoodooMagic.
Cool. Right. Well, thank you everybody for listening or watching, depending on your preferred platform. This has been Corporal Hicks.
RidgeTop.
And this is your magnificent, throbbing rod of revenge, VoodooMagic.
Oh, boy.
Signing off. No, get into the chopper. This is Predator related. Get into the chopper.